Hi, I'm Avery Davidson.
And I'm Kristen Oaks-White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Well, farm labor is a big concern for farmers right now, especially those who grow rice and raise crawfish. If more work visas are not made available, it could lead to an influx of foreign crawfish.
Vermilion Parish farmer Laura Hebert recently brought her concerns about farm labor straight to Washington, D.C. TWILA's Josh Meeks traveled along for the trip to our nation's capital.
More than a dozen Louisiana young farmers and ranchers are here in Washington, D.C., sharing stories from their own farms. They are on the front lines of helping shape future policy that will benefit Louisiana agriculture. For crawfish and rice farmer Laura Hebert, this story started a few months ago, more than 1,000 miles away on her farm in Vermilion Parish.
It's been kind of a rough start for us, but we're hoping that it gets better. We see some movement, so that's good.
Late cold weather is slowing down her catching process, but she's more concerned about what's happening on the processing side of the season, specifically with H-2B labor. That's the program that brings in immigrant workers to peel crawfish in processing plants. The federal government caps the number of visas it issues. This year, we hit that cap in a matter of days.
That directly affects us as crawfish farmers. I know that processing plants don't consider peelers and processing as an agricultural program, but I plan on going to DC and saying it is affecting us specifically as a farmer. Not being able to get that labor in to process the crawfish.
If we can't produce the frozen crawfish that goes in your etouffee, or if we can't have fried soft-shell crawfish, if we can't process those, then what's going to happen? We're going to just be flooded by other foreign markets.
Matthew Wagaspak is the Labor Committee Coordinator for Louisiana Farm Bureau, which brings us back to D.C. He's on this trip with these young farmers and ranchers to make sure their voices get heard by Louisiana's congressional delegates. Laura Hebert is in Representative Clay Higgins' district. By bringing her concerns straight to her lawmaker, she's now that name and face that gets remembered when policies are decided about farm labor.
I think they're all working to help us.
They like to hear stories from back home. They like to hear about our families, so that really helps them resonate with the issues a little more, because there's a personal feel after that.
Aaron Lee and his wife Jamie have been doing this for a few years now. They know it's that personal touch that drives it home here on Capitol Hill. Whether it's an audience with staff or the lawmakers themselves, these in-person meetings are what help shape policy. The government may not always move at lightning speed to address these issues, but these young farmers and ranchers feel that their concerns do not fall on deaf ears.
He sounded like, I'm here for you guys, we're working on it. That was refreshing to me, at least. To hear that they're listening, they're trying to move it. They've been kind of sluggish on it, but it was refreshing.
And Louisiana's delegates agree having this FaceTime with our farmers and ranchers is crucial to the future of food security and national security.
Always great to see them here, always great to be a part of the discussion and partnership that advances our farming industry that's so important to our economy.
It's been fantastic. The process continues. Every year I learn something different. Every year it enables me to do more for the farm community.
Louisiana was born on a farm. America was born on a farm. We take agriculture and our food for granted, and we think it didn't just fall from heaven. We thank heaven for it, but people had to grow it.
My background is not in agriculture, but they teach me so much every time they come up, how I can be a better champion for them up in Congress. And agriculture is my #1 industry in my district.
So now that those stories have been shared, hopefully those congressional delegates will keep them in mind, shaping future policy. Reporting from Washington, D.C. for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Josh Meeks.
Some from this group also got to sit in on a markup of the Farm Bill in the House Ag Committee. It has now passed that committee and is headed for the full House for a vote. We'll have more details on that story in next week's show.
Much of Louisiana remains in drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor map released on March 5th. That's significant for ranchers who depend upon timely rains to keep pastures going. The visit to our nation's capital gave Louisiana ranchers a chance to say thank you for some of the recent changes Congress made to get assistance into the hands of producers affected by drought. The USDA Livestock Forage Disaster Program received a much-needed change when Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. According to Louisiana Farm Bureau Commodity and Public Policy Policy Coordinator Madison DeKaiser. The change now gets assistance to ranchers after 4 weeks of drought conditions.
As it stood previously under LFP, you had to be in a drought or excessive heat state for 8 weeks before you received any type of payment. And I don't know about you, but cattle eat every day, and they need forage, water, any type of nutrition that they can get every single day. Our livestock producers don't have time or the ability to wait 2 months before they can get any type of supplemental assistance.
Now, the recent rains across the state have hopefully alleviated most of those drought conditions. Real food is what Louisiana farmers grow, and it's also the center of an initiative backed by the USDA.
Some of the Louisiana Farm Bureau young farmers and ranchers who were on that trip got to see that firsthand at an event hosted by U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. It's not every day that U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins walks into an event and an entire row of seats is filled by Louisiana Farm Bureau young farmers and ranchers. But that was the case when Secretary Rollins announced changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as SNAP.
Our 16 nutrition programs here at USDA are shifting in a massive, disruptive, transformational way to better prioritize healthy children, healthy families, and healthy communities.
With signs reading "Eat Real Food," Rollins announced that the 250,000 retailers across the country that accept money from SNAP must now double the amount of fresh fruit and proteins they stock to qualify to remain in the program. That means grocery stores and convenience stores must make those changes or not participate in SNAP and not get that money.
No longer, if you accept SNAP dollars, will jelly count as a fruit, will jerky count as a protein, that starting almost immediately they have to stock more than double the healthy options that they're currently being required to stock. In fact, 28 varieties across 4 staple food programs are going to now be required, more than double the current requirements. Americans on SNAP deserve more. 28 is just a starting point, even though it is double what we're currently doing. We know that there is much, much more work to do as we work to get healthier foods into these retailers.
This is not a Republican issue. There's no such thing as Republican children, Democratic children. These are our kids, and this is our primary responsibility. U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert Kennedy Jr. gives Rollins credit for making those changes Rollins says were a decade in the making.
This rule will finally deliver on Section 4002 of the bipartisan 2014 Farm Bill. More than a decade later, we will finally get this right.
American Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee member and Rapides Parish farmer Rachel Duncan says witnessing this event in person was a highlight of her visit to Washington, D.C.
Getting to hear Secretary Rollins explain just how important it is to get good proteins out to the consumers is refreshing, because that makes it to where we know that our hard work is being heard, it's being seen, but they're wanting our hard work to be distributed to customers and consumers across the world.
Louisiana is one of the states that had already obtained a SNAP waiver. The 22 states approved for waivers can amend the statutory definition of eligible food under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Still to come on TWILA, peeling crawfish with surgical precision, the future of boils or a medical breakthrough.
But first, have you ever had a beer in a cotton mill? Up next, TWILA's Neil Melanson shows us how one brewery is making the best out of old machinery.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Let's go ahead and get a look at some crawfish prices from around the state as we move into the heart of crawfish season. It's been warmer, so, they're coming out. In Lake Charles, Rouse's Market on Nelson Road has a pound of live crawfish for $3.89 and a pound of boiled for $5.49.
In Metairie, you'll find them at Kelly's Village Inn for $3.99 a pound live and $4.99 a pound boiled.
And in Arcadia, Taste of Crawfish sells them for $3.75 a pound live and $8 a pound boiled.
These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to make sure just ask before you eat. There's a lot of old properties scattered across Louisiana, and what to do with them is a concern for towns and cities across the state. One brewery is using an old cotton mill to bring a new flavor to Northwest Louisiana.
This week, TWILA's Neil Melanson takes us to Flying Heart Brewery in Natchitoches with some surprising agricultural connections.
When the cotton industry declined in Louisiana, it left behind a lot of infrastructure, and what to do with all of this has been a problem. This mill in Natchitoches, though, has become a brewery, which is now Flying Heart Brewery.
This facility was a previous brewery. The ownership group approached us and said, hey guys, we love what y'all are doing. Would you consider coming to Natchitoches? It's got a 55-foot peak in the ceiling, you know. We love the history. We love what they had already done to revitalize and refurbish this building and kept a lot of the history. As you look around, I mean, you can see the old fire wheels up at the peak.
Locals have taken to the idea, particularly because it now has a family-friendly atmosphere too. Manager Chris Ferguson says the old cottonseed oil made here created many memories.
Spoke to my mom about it. She's from Bossier, and she's like, we had one too. It smelled like, fried chicken. The whole town smelled like fried chicken when they were making that stuff. So it's some fond memories for everybody. They like to see the building being utilized.
The old mill isn't the only tie to agriculture. The logo actually comes from an old cattle brand used by one of the co-founders' family.
His last name's H.A. RT. We converted that to HEART, and the logo that we have, the heart right here with the wings, that was a cattle brand registered to his family up in Washington State. So it kind of came with the history, came with the story.
Fresh ag products are at the heart of the brewery. Brewer Bill Mungai says Louisiana products are part of the formula.
We use some sugar to boost the alcohol content of some of the beers and thin them out and make a nice, really light drinking beer with a higher alcohol. So we do use Louisiana sugar for that. And we've used a little bit of rice.
Flying Heart also has a kitchen where using locally grown ingredients matters to both the staff and patrons.
I'm going to use salad as the example because that's what we sell the most of. That's locally grown. We do a ton of we get a ton of compliments on our salads because everything's bought fresh, cut fresh, made fresh every single day.
In addition to the old cotton mill, the brewery harkens back to a time when almost every town made its own products like beer. Mungai says that's because freshness matters in what you drink as well.
They're not sitting on a store shelf getting old, getting stale, picking up light and oxidation. They're just fresh, ready to go. You come, pour you a pint.
Flying Heart Brewery has 3 locations across North Louisiana, and they're all dedicated to good food, good times, and of course, good beer. Reporting from Natchitoches, I'm Neil Melanson.
Natchitoches is not the only place you can find these brews. Flying Heart has 2 other locations in Bossier City and Monroe.
If you want to give your kids a fun activity that will teach them about Louisiana agriculture, Ag Magic is right around the corner. This event is put on by the LSU Ag Center and teaches kids and adults about crops, forestry, animals, insects, and so much more. The New Orleans Ag Magic in Violet is open to the public starting March 21st, while the one in Baton Rouge is at Parker Coliseum, and they'll be open to the public March 28th and 29th. We've got more information posted right now on our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, Louisiana's trees are tall. Next, we'll introduce you to one of the giants leading the industry in this year's Hall of Distinction honors.
Plus, testing new precision medical devices by teaching it to peel crawfish. Stay with us. 3 new names are now in the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction. David Cupp, a giant in the state's forestry industry, Dr. Rogers Leonard, Professor Emeritus of the LSU Ag Center, and Jim Seamaw, General Manager of the American Sugarcane League.
Over the next few weeks, we'll highlight the careers of these 3 men and their contributions to Louisiana agriculture. This week, Craig Gautreaux introduces us to David Cupp.
David Cupp was raised in the Hudson Valley of New York, and through trips to places like Vermont got an appreciation for nature, especially the forest of the area. His views on the environment played a role in how he sees the land and instilled in him an appreciation for the trees that proliferate the landscape.
I would never have pictured 40 years ago where I am today. You start down a path and God sends you different directions, because I did spend 5 years in the paper mill and manufacturing, and did some other things, had some other opportunities, but it kept pulling me back to the dirt and the trees.
That's a load of pine pulpwood going to
Mansfield Mill. Yeah. So all of this used to be Boise Cascade along here. Now it's been broken up, different ownerships. I'm not saying it's bad or good, it's just different.
Times have changed dramatically throughout his career in the timber industry. Forest companies once owned the land and the mills, but that model no longer exists. It's now a network of landowners, mills, and loggers that are the prominent players. Another area of major change is the technological tools.
You know, when I first started, we did everything was compass and pace. You know, when we cruised timber, now you've got Avenza, you've got GPS, you have all these tools that make you way more efficient and way more accurate.
Not afraid to look down. We can touch the sky before we fall. We fall.
So when we come in to thin these plantations, we take out every 5th row, and then we thin 2 rows on either side. There's a pattern. Yeah, when we get through here, you'll have the best growing stock and the best opportunity to put value on these trees.
His job with Walsh Timber has him working daily with landowners, loggers, and mills that produce forest products. Earning trust from these entities is a crucial component to success and a key to sustaining longevity in the timber industry.
It's about the landowners and you guys can go down through the list that have trusted us with thousands and thousands of acres.
We want that long-term business. We work in a small area here. If you ever violate that trust, guess what? You're out of business, because that word of mouth spreads, good or bad. So we want that reputation of ethics and morals and doing the right thing. So that's why I was brought up. That's why my parents brought us up, and that's what we do.
We've been here forever. It's a small community of people, it sure is, yeah. And it's a good thing, because, when people know each other, they care about each other.
Service is another guiding principle for Cupp and his employer. Early in his profession, he was taught that service to the community was a necessity and an obligation. This tenet remains strong with him today.
Service was part of the culture, and they instilled that in me, and I learned from it, and it's just part of our DNA with Walsh Timber. If you look at our team, we have guys who minister at churches. We have people that volunteer in the community, and really good people that get involved in youth sports or whatever it is, their church. And in these small rural communities, you need good citizens to keep the community together.
Cupp's commitment to service has led him to be a volunteer assistant coach with the St. Mary's High School softball team for more than 20 years. His commitment to coaching goes beyond the skills needed for success on the diamond.
So as I've evolved as a coach, we do the X's and O's, but I try to pass on life lessons to them, about being a great teammate, what that means, and being a great teammate means you want the people around you at the end of the day to be better because you were part of that team, and they understand that. And then I guess the greatest gift on that is, it sounds crazy, but 5-10 years from then, you get a wedding invitation.
This is our home. It's in the earth, in our blood, in the air we breathe. Feel the strength of our roots grow beneath our feet. Together we stand, one heartbeat. This is our home.
And we'll go to the next logging job, and that'll head us back towards Natchitoches. So whatever we do, we want someone to want our service.
In business, taking risk can often lead to a big success. And that is exactly what happened with the Southern Loggers Cooperative. Cupp was a member of a group of investors who took a chance that came up a winner.
There were so many naysayers that said, oh, this will never work. Loggers will never come together and do it. So as we sit today, we have over 6,000 members. We're selling 1 million gallons of fuel a week or more. And that was the whole goal, and still is the whole goal. It's there to save loggers money. We want to give more than we get.
Right back to the start.
Back to our community, back to our employees, back to our customers.
Cupp says his induction is a team honor made up of landowners, loggers, millers, and the employees of Walsh Timber. But there is one other essential team member he would like to thank.
When it's all said and done, I'd be remiss not to say, my family plays a huge role in all it. My wife, been by my side all through it. You have to persevere and keep doing the right things. You do the right things, and it'll work itself out. So yeah.
Right back to the start.
Now it's time for this week's TWILA Boost. Doctors' offices and emergency rooms are some of the front lines for the latest and greatest in technology.
One surgeon in Lake Charles recently got to test drive a new surgical system and gave it a uniquely Louisiana challenge. Dr. Jason Rudd, a general surgeon at Christus Ochsner St. Patrick Hospital in Lake Charles, wanted to see if this Da Vinci 5 robotic surgical system was up to the challenge of a delicate operation, peeling boiled crawfish. He places the crawfish in the operating chamber, fits it with the appropriate tools, and gets to work using this immersive 3D headgear and delicately precise tools. The Da Vinci 5 is typically used to assist in abdominal surgery, so a crawfish should be an easy test.
The picture you're seeing is actually even better on the console that I'm sitting on, but I actually have a 3D view if you go into the console where I get to operate from, so it actually has 2 camera lenses, so my view is almost like I'm shrunk down inside of the patient when I get to work on a day-to-day thing, so that's pretty neat. And then yes, the instruments themselves, the mechanics of it all, if my hands or wrist does it, it does it on a very slimmed down, magnified scale, and so the level of precision that you can get with it is just unmatched. Peeling a crawfish for the first time, so usually it's gallbladders and hernias and more the usual.
Now, Kristen, don't worry, you won't have to come second to a crawfish. Dr. Rudd says the model they used for the test is only a test model. It was just test drive and will never be used for patients. If you're thinking of ordering one for your next boil, well, you've got this. This is pocket change for you. It'll only set you back about $2 million.
I was going to say, maybe he might be onto something. This could be the future of
for those of us who don't like
crawfish.
To get our hands dirty, soap is a lot cheaper than $2 million.
I smell a patent pending. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll take you back to Washington, D.C. for an exclusive close-up look at the Farm Bill.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Subscribe, turn on notifications. That way you know when we put something new out there.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.